For question number 7, we're going to state the restrictions. So for 7a, we're going to have the square root of m squared minus 3 equals 5, and we're going to first of all state the restrictions and then solve it. So when we state restrictions, you may be just asked to state the restriction in this way. So m squared minus 3 must be greater than or equal to 0. So sometimes that's good enough. Sometimes if we want to split up the m into its separate components, we have to kind of think of this as a parabola, and we want to know where this parabola is going to be above 0. So this is going to be m squared minus 3. The vertex is at 0, negative 3. And then the roots are going to be here at negative root 3 and positive root 3. And where that's going to be greater than 0 is going to be the parts above the x-axis. So it's going to be that section there and that section there. So then the solution for this is going to be on a number line. It will look like this. Root 3 is going to be equal to root 3, and on this side, and negative root 3 is going to be equal to negative root 3, and on this side. And we can also express this as m is greater than or equal to root 3, m is less than or equal to negative root 3. So that is, this in the red is a comprehensive way of showing the restrictions. If you want to show a basic restriction, we can just stick with this m squared minus 3 is bigger than or equal to 0, indicating that the restriction on the radical must be positive. Okay, so the next part of this is the solving part. This is the main part. We're going to solve this by squaring both sides. So we're going to end up with m squared minus 3. We're going to square this side, which means that we have to square the other side to keep it balanced. So we end up with m squared minus 3 is going to be equal to 25 on this side, because we're going to square that 5. And then we could solve for m as m squared, add 3 to both sides, and then we're going to square root. 28 is not a perfect square, so we're just going to leave it as root 28, or in a simplified form, if it asks us to simplify this, it would be plus minus 2 root 7. Okay, so positive root 28 is within the domain. Okay, it's going to be out here, root 28, and negative root 28 is also within the domain of the equation, so we know that these are both going to be perfectly good solutions, but we should really check this by, we know that best by checking. If we check this solution for extraneous solutions, we're just going to plug in. So m equals positive root 28. When we plug this in, we're going to end up with root 28 squared minus 3 square root is equal to 5. This is true. It's going to be 28 minus 3. That works. If we check m equals negative root 28, we'll get the same solution. It's going to be negative root 28. Negative root 28 squared. The square will get rid of that negative, and then we minus 3 is equal to 5, so that's going to be 28 minus 3 square rooted. That's going to be equal to 5, so those are both valid solutions. Okay, so there's a couple parts to this. There's a solving part, okay, that we need to make sure we understand how to isolate the square root, undo the square root by squaring, solving for the variable. There's another part that involves checking for extraneous solutions by substituting into the original equation. And then the third part is, which we can call 3a and b, the stating of restrictions. We can state a basic restriction like that, or we can do a more comprehensive analysis to work out the restriction as that. Okay?